o'clock on April 2nd. We're at Dummerston Town Hall. Call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is before the agenda, we're adding one permit in new business for a Scott Farm event on 10 May 25. So that'll come up in the new business section. All right, we're going to review and approve the minutes of previous meetings. We'll do them separately. First is March 19th, which was a normal select board meeting.
Make a motion that we accept the
All right,
minutes from the 19th.
All right, I'll second that. Any discussion on that one? All right, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from the March 19th meeting say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those say no, and any abstentions?
One abstention.
All right, thanks. Now we'll approve the meeting minutes from the March 26th single event meeting. It was about the walking path to school. I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the March 26th meeting.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 And all those against. So they're done. Two warrants, warrant 20 and warrant 20P. Warrant 20 is general expenses, warrant 20P is payroll. So I'll make a motion we approve warrants 20 and 20P.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion?
I just have a question as to, like this is a quarterly, correct?
Well, the payments, it depends. So some things are paid quarterly, some are paid twice a year. But these come up every 2 weeks because Chris pays the bills every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it'll depend what falls in
In that
between the meetings.
time frame?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
So it should be 2 weeks worth of payroll
Okay.
for the payroll. So the payroll is $11,981, which is again right about the normal rate. The general expenses warrant 20 is $27,270,244. There's a couple of fuel purchases in there as I'm watching the prices to see what they do. The rest of it seems fairly benign. Any other discussion on those?
No. Make a motion that we.
We already made.
We're already
we already
good.
Oh, we did that.
Yep.
Okay.
All those in favor of approving warrant 20 and warrant 20P say aye.
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 And all those against. All right, road foreman, truck bid. Lee,
Yes.
get up here and explain yourself.
All right. So, I would like to go with Face Ford. And I think last week you might have had the figures, but it came in with the truck and the body, $127,239. So that is $27,239 over what we have budgeted at town meeting, but we do count the trade in there, so we are planning on selling it outright. And I believe that it's going to be, I'm hoping like $35,000 for the old truck.
So the question was between you guys call all these two things different parts. The body
Yes.
for $70-some thousand.
That was the cabin chassis.
The cabin chassis, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll call the toys that you put on them.
Yep.
Came to whatever 50.
56, yeah, or 57.
And so you can't spend more than 100 without a special town meeting unless you believe you can cover that extra with the sale of the truck.
Yes. That's what I believe.
Do you have to sell the truck first to have that money? That's,
No, so you can trade it in, right? That's the easiest thing. The problem is you have to trade it in once you get the cab and chassis, and the body dealer might not even be ready until next spring. So that wouldn't necessarily work. You would be a winner without a truck. And so we've definitely done it that way when we knew the truck was going to be coming in, I don't know, December-ish, then that is how we've done it. The last couple things, tractor, gas, Dodge, we've sold outright because we can get more money for them doing it that way.
yeah, I guess I don't figure how you can spend that money without having it already here, you know?
Yeah,
If you know what I mean,
yeah,
because you're not gonna have the 127,000 if you order the new truck now.
right, and you don't pay for the truck until it's done. You might have to pay for the cab and chassis when the cab and chassis comes in.
Right.
But then when the actual body gets,
So when are you gonna sell the?
depending on when the body's gonna get, hopefully they'll give
Exactly,
a
that's what-
projected time.
So,
Has Faith given you a trade value?
No.
If you trade?
No, because it's, if we go through it without a winner, we're in trouble. If the other 1 ton breaks, we do Kelly Road with it. We do, and you're not gonna get up in there with a big truck. It has to be one of the 1 tons.
so the simpleton plan, which is what I come up with,
Yep,
is that you order the chassis.
yep,
Yeah, got it. For whatever 70-some thousand.
yep,
It shows up and they go, we got it.
yep.
Now, in 6 weeks, we can have the body done. And during those 6 weeks
We
is
sell.
when you would sell the other truck. You'd have leftover money
Yep.
plus the sale of the truck, and you'd give them money, and so you wouldn't want more than 100,000. You're not going to spend more than 100,000 because you're getting
Right, and that is, you know, that's the goal, of course, you know,
That was,
right.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What if you don't get?
Well, exactly.
It has to come out of general fund. We've had that happen before. It's,
But
or our regular operating, cause,
Well, we'd have to go back to we'd have to have a special town meeting to approve that.
we didn't before, cause our truck came in without a, Jake brake before. And they, ended up splitting the cost between the truck dealer and the town. And
Is-
then,
Because right,
And
if
it
you
was-
can-
it put it
you can
over
take general
budget.
fund money to the highway fund, but you can't go the other direction. Is there a number, if it were
Right.
within $5,000, do we need a meeting? Or, I'm just asking, is there a limit?
I don't know, because I've never had this situation come up before.
Yeah, because if it's over what
Um,
they approved,
Mhm.
then you need to.
I'm trying to think what
down.
the
Right?
tractor
That's
was
what I
for.
always thought.
Yeah, and we can do this that way, but it's definitely to the town's benefit to sell it outright, because they're gonna give us 15,000 probably for the truck. And just like the tractor was 10,000, we got 21,000, so we made $11,000 selling it outright. So either we can wait until next year, which is, and go through town meeting again, and do it with the backhoe is due next year, so it would be the truck and backhoe, if you guys feel more comfortable. It was in for 110, but it still wouldn't have been enough to cover it, the total price. But,
What was in for 110?
the backhoe, like 2 years ago, it was in there, and it got knocked down, and probably I agreed to it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I didn't agree to it, but it went down.
So we're in a situation where, what's the timeline, generally speaking, of buying the truck and having it all ready to go for next winter? Can it be ready by then?
No, I don't believe so. So
So
we
next-
did at the road foreman's meeting, the truck dealer did come down and explain it. And I was gonna go over it at another meeting, but we can go over it a little bit now. So new trucks, there's only 2 companies building them. Big trucks are out 2 years. So you actually have to order, if we want a truck in 2 years, we have to order it now. We don't have to pay for it until the 2 years. They will come up with a contract on it. And it's the 1 tons, they have a sub they think they're getting. So it's kind of a little wishy-washy, what the timeline is. But the timeline, originally, he said it was no way it would be here for the winter.
All right, so
But Lee, I have a question. I know that there's a 2-year lead time on the truck. What sort of lead time would there be on the components that we'd put on it? Is there any serious wait for that?
I would say,
Like truck and we wanted to order the parts. How long would we have to wait for that?
Right. So the problem is the body manufacturer having a time slot for us to put the body on the truck. So the truck can get here in plenty of time, the equipment can get here in plenty of time. It's just a matter of putting the equipment on the truck.
I see.
Quick
I
question.
understand now.
Quick question. Have you locked in a price for the extra equipment that you need on the truck?
Yes.
You have locked in a price?
Yep.
And how long is it good for?
I think it's good because, like he said, it's a spot in their schedule. So if we don't take it, Brattleboro will. So I think it's good
But
until we decide.
You locked in the price?
Yeah.
Okay, because as we all know, there are tariffs going on.
Right, and he did say they're gonna honor all their contracts, with the tariffs. Yeah. he
So we
did
can
say-
lock in the chassis and the body.
Yep.
At a set price.
Yep.
They're not gonna show up and be ready for 2 years.
This is, all right, so, I'm sorry, the one we're ordering right now is a small truck.
Okay.
So it's next spring. It
Okay,
would
so
hopefully be ready, but until I say, like, go ahead,
Right.
he might have even locked us in right now, but, into a time
But
slot.
we don't know, we can't put the other truck on the market until, consider more than, a year from now, let's just say.
Yeah, I would say until the body we have that time slot figured out. Which might be,
Right.
it might be January, it might be.
And if prices go up on everything, then prices on used vehicles are gonna go up too. So whatever you think you can sell a truck for now will probably be a little bit higher.
Right,
It
I'm
seems to be
thinking
happening.
35, when you look online
Right.
for this 2017 Dodge 5500 or whatever they call them,
Right.
with a tailgate sander and a plow.
So the new truck, does that pricing include another plow and sander?
It's the sander, no plow. The plow was the option on here. The option was 8,200 if you wanna pass it around.
So that's not included in 126?
No, so more than likely, we're gonna have to, next town meeting, ask for the plow. We have another plow for it.
Or if you get 35,000 for it, you're gonna have almost enough to cover the plow.
Right.
But you
That's gonna
said-
kind of wait.
I think you said that
127 total.
guesstimate trade-in at
And we
15,000.
gave them 100.
Yeah, that's just me
It's also
guessing.
35.
Because that's a big spread from 15 to 35.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might give
Buy a
you
plow.
20, but it seems like they don't give you
He
much.
said
when
8,200.
it's-
Have you looked into it at all?
No. No.
Would it be prudent to do that?
The problem is you have to get rid of the truck when the cab and chassis comes in, and that's the whole issue with the winter.
You won't have it, yeah.
Um,
Because the cabin chassis will be here before
Right.
December, you think?
right, yeah, the cab and chassis can be more than likely July. It's.
So Lee, I have a question. So we're going to have to add on to the cost of this, the cost of a plow. I'm pretty sure that people, when they voted on it, they assumed that this was for the complete, everything that was needed for the truck. How much extra would a plow cost?
Right.
If it's going to use a plow?
The price on this sheet is 8,200.
Which we had a little side discussion, Tom, Marie and I. I mean, so if we gave them 100, if you can sell for 35, that's 135. And the total price we're looking at now is 127 without the plow. If you add 8,200 on there, it comes pretty close to 135. So it gets close. I mean, there's a couple of concerns. One, price is going up. As you asked, do we want to lock this in? And we have until next town meeting, more than likely, before the truck's the chassis is going to show up. We'll be through the next town meeting, right? Or you think this year? No, you think this year will show up?
Yeah, until they actually tell me the time slot. Yeah, he went to the road foreman's meeting, like I say, and explained it to everyone there, and the whole state that it's.
So the cabin chassis can come up anytime, the body and Sandra can come anytime, it's a matter of when they can put it all together.
Right, so all you're reserving, when you sign up, and he said like if we wanted a truck in 2 years, a large truck, they will reserve that time slot for us. But they're gonna actually show you the price of the truck right now. And then if town meeting comes and the town says no, then they'll just rip it up, the contract.
There's only 2 companies that do the
Yes.
retrofitting?
It's Williston, the Viking,
Yeah,
and then Fairfield out of Concord,
okay.
or it's Hopkinton maybe, or somewhere in there, but, yes. The other issue was, and it makes sense to me, is, before there used to be like 6 people who did it. Towns all started to go, we had this discussion, shorter, go 7 years and trade them in often, get a little more for the trade-in. And then so that messed things up a lot because, town of Brattleboro is buying, half is gonna, in a 10-year period, they're buying more trucks. There's another thing with, in like 6 years, for every 8 diesel trucks, big trucks, they have to sell 1 electric. So if they do not sell the electric, they cannot sell the 8 diesel, and that you can't get it from like New Hampshire to try to get around it. So the state of Vermont is actually buying in groups, so they get their credits. So they buy 1 electric, and then they'll get their 8 diesels.
Then they can go tow the electric in with legal power.
Right. Or that's how crazy it's going. In 2020, I'd have to look, I got the sheet in there, but in like 3 years, they're going up, there's another diesel emissions, and they're going up 25,000, I think. These are larger trucks, not this one. But, it's pretty scary times when you start thinking about it.
All right.
We also run the risk that if we approve this, that there's nothing going to happen to the Dodge in the next year, mechanically or otherwise, to be able to sell it for 35.
Right.
Right. We have been fixing everything that breaks before we sell them. So we've never had to sell a broke truck.
If the motor goes, the transmission goes, something big like that,
Right.
that's a whole bigger hit than.
We did
Exactly.
we did a
Wipers,
Yeah.
we did
Right.
a motor in the International the year it went.
So that's part 1 of the risk. That even at 75,000, even if he wasn't going over 100, that still would have been a risk. Right? We're still waiting for a truck.
Mhm.
So that's a built-in risk for every vehicle. Unless we can literally sell it the day of town meeting, we're always going to take the risk of the truck breaking down.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the plan to back that up is we have to ask for more money to have a town meeting. If we don't sell for that money, we have to back it up and have a town. I mean, the answer to all this is if it goes over 100K, there's a town meeting.
Right.
The likelihood is pretty strong by the sounds.
Mhm.
That it will-
About 27,000. I think 27. If we wanted to 35, I would be. I think it's worth that. But I'm no Christ. So I think the 27, I think is fairly reasonable. We got 21 for the gas job. A Dodge.
But you could
But you
ask-
got to find the right person
Right,
too.
you could ask 35 and then get the highest offer is 25, so where's that
Right.
much is, so.
Right. There's always that risk.
Right,
And like I say, I don't, either way, it's the truck. I feel good about it as far as going through the winter, but, even if we wait another year, it's gonna go through another winter.
Right, because you're not going to be able to lower it.
Right,
It'll take another year to get.
right.
The other
And,
thing is have a preemptive town meeting for another $35,000 or 40,000 to cover the plow too. So the options are, you have a preemptive town meeting, another 40 grand,
Yeah.
just in case. Or you have a town meeting later if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Just, I think, in the future for any trucks, maybe even the backhoe, then we should be in our budget, not that we wanna see our capital plan go way up, and try to explain that, you know, this 35,000 or 25 or whatever we get is gonna go back into the capital plan. But the capital plan numbers maybe should be for the full price, because I think even with the large trucks, you're gonna get more for selling them outright than you can
Trading.
trade into them.
So
To try to make the most out of,
So we'll remember that
the
when we go
money.
through the capital budget this year is to do the full value with, but what's written in the town report is there's an expectation that the truck will be sold or backhoe or whatever for X, somewhere between this amount and this amount, which will offset the additional. It would carry over to the next year.
The way we usually warn it, in this case, it was that he could spend up to $100,000. So if we had included all of the body and the plow, we would have said, we're gonna approve up to 140,000. That doesn't mean that that's gonna be spent.
Right.
And then that's the way to do it, is not, so then if it only came in at 127,000, that money stays in the capital fund. It just doesn't get spent.
it's just, this is the first time. We've done it the other way
In a very long time.
since the beginning.
Is there any, go ahead.
Oh, no,
I was just gonna ask, is there any option to transfer the body and the sander to the new cab and chassis? For, you know, for $30,000, and then you'd be under your 100.
right. I'm not 100% sure how long the body would last.
But you could put the new body and stuff into
Right,
town meeting next year or the year after, you know?
right,
If you could get a couple of years out of it.
yep. Yeah, and that's, so
But then you
the
wouldn't get-
transferring of it is the,
Right, you're not gonna get the trade-in value on the cab and chassis, that's for
Exactly.
sure, but you
Right.
wouldn't need it if you're under 100,000.
Right.
And that money could go back into the capital.
yeah. And it's, so the new one is a, or what they bid here, or price for, or whatever, is a, side dump, just like the one we bought, and so it's a combination body, side dump, where this one is a, the tailgate sander.
Just straight down.
Yeah, straight down to the tailgate sander. And the same thing is if it all works out, I'm not worried about that truck, right? It was only like 4 years old maybe, and we had it down for like 5 or I don't know, a couple months during the winter because they didn't have an axle joint for it. But so far, you know, it's been all right truck.
Yeah.
So I would say, right, either way, I'm not nervous. It's just a matter of how you would like to, how you would rather do it.
I'm just concerned about committing that extra money to, you know, over 100,000.
Yep.
Without
Without the
approval,
approval.
right?
Mhm.
Okay.
So then do we think about a special town meeting to approve additional funds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or do we wait till next town meeting?
Right. And I think it is up to you. I mean, as far as, I'm not worried either way.
Right.
It's just next year is gonna be, it's on the capital plan, it will be the backhoe and the 1 ton. Well, hopefully.
But you'd already have the 100,000 from this year
Right,
Exactly.
committed, so you'd be asking for Yeah, maybe the property will be asking for, under 50
Right.
for the truck part of it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
hopefully
I
35.
don't see an issue waiting until next town meeting.
It just runs the other truck through 2 more signatures.
And it's 8 years old now?
Yes. It's a 17.
Yeah.
So
How many miles do it have?
not terrible. I would say 55,000.
That's not too bad for that.
Oh, no.
versus Mostly plowing and sanding, so.
Right.
so,
Right.
It's not commuting to work. All right. So, someone will make a motion to do something?
that's what it
Yeah,
is.
just like it.
Nobody just-
All right, I'll make a motion that we table the purchase of the truck until a year from now. And the next town meeting, we'll add additional funding to cover the total cost of the truck.
I'll second it.
With the stipulation that we'll also let the voters know that the sale of the current truck may offset that or a good chunk of that balance, just so they're aware.
But we're still going for the chassis.
No,
No,
No.
not gonna do
Hold off
anything.
on it.
There's no point in the chassis showing up
Right.
if we're not gonna talk about the other stuff.
Okay.
So what we'll have to do is, when we do the capital plan for next town meeting is, we'll just eliminate the 100,000.
Mhm.
Shift it out 1 year
Mhm.
to fiscal year 27.
Yep.
And we'll make it the 135, 40, whatever.
Yeah.
And we will have to get new pricing, because the pricing
Oh,
will
yeah.
change.
Yeah, it's gonna
With
be-
it.
it's gonna be
Exactly,
different.
right.
And
So
it's
that's-
gonna go up.
So
Yes.
that's the risk.
Mhm.
So if there's a 25% increase due to events of the world, we're gonna have to get more money.
Even more than what we're.
So I mean, that's what I was reading is the warrant, and it does say purchase at the cost of no more than $100,000
Mhm.
to come from the capital fund.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's,
If we're not taking more than 100,000 from the capital fund.
Right.
I mean, there's 2 things in there. I would have written the warrant, I don't know what the rules are. I would write them to say, in this situation, and we may not come up with this again, is that we are committing $100,000 from the capital fund for the purchase of a new truck. Basically saying we're not taking more than 100K from the capital fund, and then the sale would offset the difference, which is what we're trying to do. So there is a little bit of a risk on the motion.
I don't think you can do that.
So,
yeah, I'd like to look at past years to see. I'll never remember how the motion was, or how it was written, so I'd have to look.
so moving it a year, we are accepting the risk that the price of all this stuff could go up another 25%, which would be another
Mhm.
30 grand
Mhm.
between them.
Mhm.
What if you put the,
Hang on, go ahead, Tom, sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
I wanted Lee to clarify, because what I thought he said earlier was that if we say that we'll buy it now, and there's like a 2-year wait line. If we need the extra amount of money and it's voted down at town meeting, that they'll rip up the contract. Why not at least just put it in now? What is the risk in that? That's what I'm not following.
Yes, 2 years was the big truck. So this truck would be, it'll show up sometime, the chassis will show up sometime probably this summer, maybe.
Right.
but ask them for a time slot after town meeting. Instead of the times, whatever time slot they have current, the nearest one, just say, can we have a time slot
After
in
March, whatever.
March, or in April, or whatever, and then if it doesn't go through town meeting,
Right, so, if we locked into a time slot right now for, of course, the truck price would still be different because we're giving up. Yeah, and then if it gets turned down at town meeting, yeah. I really don't know the best way to do it as far as, I think you're right, I think the price is gonna go up. If we turn this contract down, or
Price
we're calling it
price might go up to
postponing it,
430
but it's
Saturday.
turning it down,
So,
the prices will go up tomorrow. So. Right, when you read that, I sort of could read into that it was not any more than 100,000 coming out of the capital plan.
It's the first part of the
That's-
sentence that's hard to get by.
Yeah,
A price not to exceed,
Mhm.
just be
Right.
clear.
And that's how they've always been written for years. Because normally, what goes into the capital plan is the total cost of the piece of equipment you're buying.
Right.
Then if you trade or sell or whatever, it
Goes back.
automatically reduces that.
Right.
And goes back into the, so it,
okay.
Can we do this because the tariff could impact this total thing? I'm guessing I don't know, maybe $25,000 difference. I think if we just explain this to the people of the town and we had a meeting soon, an important meeting soon, I think people would at least be able to have to make the decision not to accept this, knowing what the outcome would be. I think this would be worth a meeting soon.
Because we would be saving the town close to $30,000.
And I think if we explained it to people, at least they could say no, knowing what the risk is.
I don't know how long we've got before prices are gonna go.
I just think that, if we get the truck now, if we go ahead with this, that is still under the 70,000. And by the meeting time, if they decide, no, we don't want to do this, add this extra cost, at that point, we directly put the old on the truck.
When do you think this meeting's gonna happen? Are you talking about a town meeting? A special
Mhm.
town meeting?
Me? No, I mean like a special meeting soon, before a town meeting. And I don't know, Lee, when do we have to give them word on this again? On this contract?
Right, I mean, he'll wait for us because we've done quite a bit of business for him. It's just a matter of, I would have to explain it to him and then check. Without,
Maybe within a month?
oh, yeah, I'm sure they would keep it for the month, but.
How long does it take to get a special town meeting into place and how much does it cost?
oh, it doesn't, I mean, we would have to warn it, we'd have to do a whole nother warning. We just one article.
Right.
We just do it at the community center, like we do the fire truck,
Yeah, we've done them at the Grange
or
before.
the Grange.
Um,
The logistics of it isn't that difficult. Yeah, I mean, so.
We'd have to publish it in the paper. Um, yeah, we'd have to have the town moderator, we'd have to, so there's not, the biggest cost would be the advertising it again, to
Okay,
warn it,
So it's not much, so.
yeah.
So we're meeting on our next select board meeting is the 16th. And then again on the 30th, is that right? Did I do my math correctly? Today's the 2nd.
Yeah.
Right, 16th and 30th?
And 30.
Yes.
I mean, is it something we want to do before a regular select board meeting or after a select board meeting, or do you want it on its own night?
I would do it just on a regular select board night.
Can we do it by the 16th?
I don't think that would give time enough to,
All
I
right.
think you have to warn it at least 10 days.
Yeah, okay, so
So
30th.
it'd be cutting it pretty close. The 30th would probably be better.
All right. And what we're going to ask for is the new warrant for $150,000, we'll say, which is a change to what was already voted on, to cover the body and the plow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that,
And then any extra goes, or when we sell the truck, it'll go back in.
mhm.
So the net, which won't be worded in one, but it'll be at the meeting, the net may be 15,000 more than.
Well, we know it's the 127,000, and you have a price for 8,200 for the
Plow.
plow.
Um,
36-ish.
Yep, 82.
So That's what we would ask
I
for.
would- Yeah, I wouldn't ask for more than that.
No, I wouldn't ask for more. No.
And so, but again, the
Is
the
there any,
understanding at the meeting is gonna be that what that may end up being out of the general fund is only $1,000 more than was asked for. But we're trying to do the,
no,
capital
we're
fund, sorry,
capital fund.
capital fund. Is made, the net may be somewhere between between $1,000 and $5,000 more than we voted for in town meeting because the price of the truck is
No.
over the 100,000.
No, we have to ask, right now, he's only getting $100,000.
No, we're gonna ask for the total amount.
Of 100
What I'm
and
saying is, at the
whatever.
meeting, we're actually gonna stand there like a bunch of dullards and not explain it to them.
Oh, no,
So what I'm saying is,
yes.
the net to the town may be an extra $1,000 or an extra $5,000 than what we thought, because the sale of the truck is gonna offset that.
Yes,
And so they look at it and go, you're not spending an extra $36,000 in
Right.
tax money.
right.
Right.
You're making sure we're in line with the not to exceed amount, which is
Yes.
what we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
I think we can do that.
And then, yeah, that'll make a huge difference in the suit as far as.
Right, I would, yeah, it's all based on the sale of the,
Right. And a little bit of history that we're worried about truck prices going up,
Mhm.
and we want to just make sure that everything's in order before we have to spend another $30,000 on the same stuff.
And by doing it at the end of April,
Because we'd be saving actually a lot more if we waited until next year. We would
Possibly.
be spending a lot more.
but we'd also be able to get it, we haven't set the tax rate, doesn't get set until June or
Right.
July, so it can go on to people's tax
Right.
bills.
Thanks.
Okay, so we want whatever, the 127, 39, and 8,200 for the,
You want to change your
As long
motion?
as the price
Yeah,
doesn't change.
right, and I'll let you know tomorrow if there's any change.
yeah,
Like if
Yeah,
there's.
you'd let them know that we'll tell them yes or no on the 30th of April
Yes.
and explain to them why.
well,
The
no,
31st.
no, we would have to know, because we're gonna have to warn this at 136,000, so if Lee checks on all of this and it comes in at 140, we're gonna have to change it to 140.
Right, but we have 10 days, right? What I'm saying is, he can talk to the guy tomorrow,
Yes,
and if he says,
Yes.
I will honor the numbers until the 1st of May.
Yeah.
Then we're good for the warning.
and the plow number, because that comes from somewhere else, right?
No, it comes from the body
Okay,
company.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so I make a motion that we hold a special town meeting prior to the regular select board meeting on April 30th to increase the warning for the purchase of a new truck to
36,000.
136,000 pending approval of that number tomorrow by Lee.
I'll second that.
All right, anyone want to talk about this anymore? Love this stuff. Sit at home going, man. All right, all those in favor of scheduling a special town meeting for the 30th of April to discuss the purchase of the new truck, say aye.
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 All those against? All right. I don't think it'll take long, but we'll set it for,
Right.
we'll move our meeting to 7, and maybe do the special time meeting at 6. I want people to be off work.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it at 5.
Mhm.
So we'll schedule that for 6 and we'll just do it at 7 right afterwards. So VCTV on the 30th, well, it doesn't matter, you get the agenda. Okay,
All right.
that is done. VTrans Financial Plan and Road Standards form.
Yes.
Foreman, I know we signed this last year.
Yep.
This is a certification that we comply with all road and bridge standards.
Yep.
And we certify our spending and our mileage and everything else.
And then the number on there, what's important is the also is, and I don't think it might not be on that same paperwork, but is 25,000 is what we need for the state emergency grant. So once we go over 25,000 in damage, then we can apply for state help. And that's usually used on localized floods where, all the other towns aren't getting it, and it's just us or maybe one other town where FEMA won't kick in, the state will.
Okay.
And they come up with that number off from our financial plan.
So there'll be 2 things we'll be signing, all of us will sign them. certificate of compliance, and the financial plan, which is a balance sheet of maintenance for between summer and winter that we're giving to them, and we're certifying that that is correct. So all those, all those in favor. So I'll make a motion, we go ahead and sign the certificate of compliance for town road bridge standards, as well as the annual financial plan for town highways.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those against? You guys can start signing. There's two of them. There's two sticky notes. You'll see there's 2 pages there. All right. Greenhoe Road. All right.
I just came to make sure that you got the research I did.
I
And
did.
find out if you needed anything. My parents bought the property in 1959. The road was not maintained past our house, hadn't been for years, obviously, because you couldn't get a car through.
Right.
And I believe that it was a class 4 road at that point. There's no mention of it changing its classification. I looked through the select board minutes from 76 through, I wrote it down there, 90 something.
You used to have to handwrite them in a logbook if you wanted to
I
read
would
them.
say, yeah. I would say, did you guys get this? I didn't get
No,
this.
she just dropped it off hard
I
copy.
just
Oh,
did it,
okay.
I just finished it today. What with being sick and all, I wasn't in
The
longer.
highlighted sections from the logbook cover a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, it covers, so in 78, Bill Bandish wanted to build a house, and my husband built a house for my parents, sort of on both sides of that road, the class 4 part of the road, and they asked if the town would take it over, and the town said no.
that's correct.
Later on, the town did put $500 into that part of the road for Bill. But they felt that they hadn't been clear with him that they weren't gonna put any work in on class 4 roads. But they did put it then in their select board notes that they weren't going to do any more on class 4 roads, take any of them over. And I also put in the property map so that people could see where the road is in relation
That's
to
Bill's permit.
Bill's land. So the class 4 road goes between what's now my sister's land and our land up to the base of Bill's driveway, which goes from the class 4 road up to his house on his land.
So his driveway, so he has about 600 feet of property along that class 4 road.
Yeah, further up.
Right. That's total though. To the south end,
From his driveway to the south end of his property is maybe 15 feet, 20
Right.
feet. There's
that's what I
a
was gonna
stone
say. There's
wall.
only like 20 feet on the south end. The other
Right.
420 feet goes north.
Right.
So that's why he calls it his driveway, which I was a little bit wrong with. So his driveway does officially start on the road
Mhm.
where his property line starts. Goes that
Oh.
whatever 15
Well,
or
it
20
starts
feet.
a little bit north of his property line
Mhm.
and leaves the road and
Right.
goes to the east.
Right.
So he calls it his driveway because he
He's the only
maintains
one.
it as a driveway, but the road itself, he has his driveway from the road to his house is paved. The rest of it's not.
Right.
So he refers to the whole thing as his driveway because he maintains it as a driveway.
Right. So, again, I looked in this last year and wrote an article in reviews, which if you want to go look at it, it talks about this a little bit, the cost for, pass this. Skip, see, this is what you're in for, buddy. So, and I talked to Lee about this and did research. So, my understanding is, one, this has always been a class 4 road. And if you go back and read the highlighted part of the meeting minutes, it's pretty clear that it's a class 4 road. So class 4 roads aren't maintained by a town. They're not required to be maintained. We don't get any money for them. If you want to live on a class 4 road, there's things that are supposed to happen. If you suddenly buy a lot that's on a class 4 road, you're like, well, I want this road better. It's like, you can ask the town to fix it. They're probably going to say no. Or if you want to upgrade it to class 3 and you want to pay to do that, and you're more than welcome to, just following all the requirements that we would follow to a class 3 road. But you're responsible to maintain the road yourself if you have a plot on it. There should have been a plan, probably back in 1978, that said, here's what we're going to do, here's what we're not going to do. But having said that, the determination of whether it's class 4 road or not, we know it's a class 4 road. So there's two things that are coming up. You sent an email that slipped past me back in January when you first asked to come talk to us. And that whole email was about plowing. That whole thing was that when he plows down to the driveway where the yurts were or are,
The turnaround,
Where
the
the
town's
turnaround is.
turnaround, right.
that the town comes up with the trucks to plow the stem of the road, I'll call it, the class 4 road, and leaves a bunch, turns around, and the snow gets pushed into that spot. Because I don't think anybody uses that drive-through. Are the yurts still occupied?
Not at the moment, no.
Right. And so there's a huge pile of snow, and as he comes down the road with his truck and plow, he can't see where there's a place to put the snow. There's already snow in the way, and so he has issues with that. And there's a couple of trees that he wants to remove in order to make it a somewhat of a level space so that he has somewhere to put his snow. So that's one thing. That's that email in January, that's all it was about, snowplow, snow. What was last year, and now came up at the meeting last time, was trees, snow falling off the canopy, trimming, taking down trees, etc. I had this printed out. This is just his permit and the original map. This is back in '78 also. So I can't do anything about snow and canopies. So this just comes down, as far as I'm concerned. You have the right of way for the road, which is not maintained by the town. Anything beyond that 50 feet, well, and that 50 feet, all those trees belong to whoever owns that land. You can't go trim the trees
Right.
without asking the landowner. The town can't do it if you even wanted to. I mean, we could go in and say for some kind of safety purposes, we're going to take this tree down, we come coordinate with the landowner. And I think he has to do the same thing. And when I talked to you last year, is within the roadway, apparently it's okay to do some type of maintenance on shrubs or bushes as long as they have a radius or circumference of less than 4 inches.
Yeah.
So shrub, very small trees, whatever, but branches that are on big trees, you can't lop off the branches. Like I can't go lop off branches on Middle Road just because I want to, because I don't like the snow.
Yeah, I did, for my note here, I was just, the landowners need to talk, and if he wants to actually cut the brush on, Eliza's, then he needs to, she might require him to have insurance, right, to be going on her
Yeah,
property.
we mentioned that. I had told him he was welcome to cut brush as long as he checked with me. Cause he'd already cut most of it. I mean,
Well, that's the same with the town. If he's going to plow the road himself, that we need to have an agreement with him for liabilities. Town, so if something happens and he hurts a piece of his equipment, bends his shovel, plow, whatever it's called, hits something, smashes his head on the windscreen, he's on town property, the right of way.
Right, I think as long as it's class 4,
Yeah.
we're good, because right now our policy, hopefully, not that I've seen an actual policy, but on class 4 roads, all we maintain are the culverts.
Yeah,
So-
the VLCT has they recommend it for class 4 road, which we're going to do, that you have a policy.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, and they have a sample policy you can look at, you can read. But one of the things they talk about is, if somebody's going to live on a class 4 road, in the first place, there probably should have been a little better agreement on what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. The second thing is, since they are plowing a town road, which they're going to have to do because they decide to live on a class 4 road, you want to have something in place that says, the town is taking no responsibility for you driving your plow off the side of the road or any equipment damage you suffer.
Right, we should get a waiver.
Yeah, it's not a waiver, we just write a policy. So that would take effect. And that would cover the 3 miles of road. I know we know a lot of people. So again, where I'm at is, this is a resident to resident thing.
well, I mean, as
Which,
I
yeah.
said, I talked to him and said it was fine. I didn't think about the liability issue, and I would expect that he'd have to do that.
Sure.
Because if he got hurt on our land, then it would be our responsibility. But I don't have any trouble with him clearing brush. I just thought he should ask is all. I do think when you get to larger trees, and it's a very narrow road and there's trees on both sides, so there's gonna be, you'd have to clear cut for quite a space in order to have no snowfall on the road. I probably wouldn't go along with that, but, you know, I don't know why he hasn't talked to me, but the trees at the bottom that he wants to cut are a whole different issue because they're right near ledge, and if he wants a wide, smooth, flat place, he's gonna have to blast. I mean, the town could use it as a turnaround, and if the town said they needed it, we'd agree to cut the trees. But it's not just cutting the trees, it's gonna be also blasting the ledge behind the trees. So I think it's, I'm not agreeable to that unless the town needs it. And the town, it seems to be fine with the turnaround as is.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But basically, I mean, it seems to me it's kind of a non-issue for me because as it is really a landowner thing. But I just wanted to check and see if you wanted any more research, but it sounds like you don't need anything more.
No, I mean, it's pretty clear over the course of a year, whatever those meeting minutes were, dates. This has been going on since 1978. And the town has kind of repeatedly said we're not going to maintain the road. And I think that was probably made clear when he decided to build, because it was almost an immediate, or pretty close to it.
I think that's why the town put in $500 because there may have been a little confusion.
Yeah.
But when they put in the $500 worth of work, they said that this was it. They weren't going to plow, they weren't going to maintain it. So it was fairly clear at that point.
All right, so I don't have any, aside from passing off roads to Skip. That's kind of where I was at last year. This is just a reinitiation of the same issue. And I did, he brought up Okama last week as if that was some kind of damning case, and I read the entire thing. That's a whole different story. That was somebody who was living on a Class 4 road, and the ski resort, since they owned it and there was this road there, they were blocking off the road for vehicular use because they used it as a ski trail in the winter because it connected much ski trails. And it has to be accessible. You can't take away it for half a year by blocking it. Yeah. So it was a different situation, different circumstance than this. We're not blocking any road at all. I mean, it's snow removal and tree brush. And I've driven up there a couple times, but I have a small car. I don't think the road's that small. I guess if you have a big truck it is, but it doesn't seem...
It's pretty narrow for plowing. It's got steep banks. You can't put the snow anywhere except at the bottom.
Right.
So are you going to respond to Bill?
Yeah, I'll respond to him again. I sent him the article and I will respond to him in email and CC everybody else of our position, which is it's a property owner situation as far as trees are concerned.
Well, any trees that are on his property, he can do whatever he wants with.
That's right. As long as he knows where his property line is.
Right.
On the south side. So, yeah.
And if he wants to do something on somebody else's, then he needs to
Get permission.
And more than likely probably want to sign a liability waiver, et cetera, et cetera. And we may be coming to him with a plowing waiver as we decide to implement a policy for Class 4 roads, which we'll work on.
So the liability waiver for cutting brush is between the two landowners, not between the town and...
Right. It's not the town.
No, ours is him plowing of the road.
The plow,
Just the plowing of the road.
Exactly.
We should probably have something in place. I don't want him to get hurt. So, all right.
Okay.
I'll reply to him and CC everybody else.
Or his only other option would be to,
Plow up the hill.
well, that too.
Buy a snowblower.
But he could petition the town to,
Push it in the button.
if he wants to upgrade it at his expense to a Class 3 road.
Right.
Initially.
That's an option.
That was a Class 4
If he
road.
does that, does the town have to agree to it?
To make it Class 3?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay, yeah.
There's the whole process that has to be
Well,
done.
that's what I thought, but
Yeah.
There'd have to be a study, how much would it cost?
Yeah, it's not something simple. Yeah.
All right. All right, I'll respond. Thank you. Witnesses for your testimony.
Thank you,
You're
Beth.
excused from the court. Correspondence for information. There's not a lot in there. There's a trail webinar. There's a VLCT webinar on the 15th on open meeting laws.
Have a great night.
It's from 10 a.m. to like 11:30. It's not that long. I might be able to carve out an hour and a half of my day to get it done. And there is, Paul, can you resend the link out to Skip
Sure,
for the conflict of interest training?
sure.
And send it to me too.
Oh,
Send it to
no,
all
I
of us.
sent it to
I
Skip.
Oh, did you?
read
Oh, you
it.
got
That's the, yeah, that's
Okay.
all I did.
I don't have anything else in that section to discuss. Correspondence for discussion and action. Is the new is that the Robert Frost house?
That's
Kipling.
Kipling, not Kipling.
Robert
Robert Frost, a poet of some ilk.
Right.
How would I know because of the road name? It's not Frost Road. So I was looking at this. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. Not that. This folder.
There was this,
Discussion folder.
there was this or an impact questionnaire,
Yep, which I looked at.
and most of it we would be saying no to because we don't offer,
Emergency services.
right.
Folder. Warrants. Which, by the way, while I'm looking, I'll sign those 2 warrants if you want to. Get those out of the way. And Paul, you can sign the minutes. Correspondence for information. I kept the folder out. Visitors. New business. I feel like I'm missing a folder. It's not me. It's not my pile. What's this? What are you hiding? Here it is. So municipal impact questionnaire. So basically fire protection, police protection, they're asking if we provide these. Rescue service, road maintenance, solid waste disposal, water supply, sewage. So we do road maintenance,
Yeah,
but the rest of them are no.
and you just have to put in who
Yeah.
provides it.
If no, explain why. Because we don't. And then for any services, please indicate who provides the services. So fire protection is mutual aid.
No, West Dummerston Volunteer Fire
They
Department,
cover all that. Okay. Police protection. I'm gonna fill this out. Who's-
Sheriff's Department,
and state police.
State Police,
Rescue.
is Rescue Inc.
Rescue Inc. Road maintenance will be us. It'll be
Town
us.
Dummerston.
Solid waste disposal.
That's Wyndham Solid Waste
Oh,
Management
they do that.
District.
Okay.
Yeah.
Water supply.
We're not a municipal, we don't
Right.
have municipal
And
water.
so water and sewage, we don't.
We don't,
Nobody provides that.
and your explanation could just be rural
Rural. Okay.
community.
Would deficiencies occur without this project? What does that even mean? Would,
Yes, they'd occur whether the project takes place or not.
That's
'Cause
right.
We don't offer those services.
On that road, on that, yeah. If deficiencies are common to many projects, does this project create burdens which are disproportionate? No, they do not.
Yeah.
If you answered yes, sign. Okay, I will sign that. I'll fill it out and sign it. I'll sit here and do it when we're done. Did Skip get the warrants?
No.
All right, there's 2 sides. Another 2 more signatures, 1 on each warrant. All right, renting of the school baseball field. So my understanding, and there's an email from Paul in there too, and
They're near someone, Paul.
Lori.
Yeah, they're marked here, I believe.
So should we just refer them to the principal,
Yes,
Slide it up.
or the community center.
or they go to the community center? All right. So our response, I'll send a response to them to go to the principal if they want the school. If they want the school, go to the community center.
Yeah.
Okay. New business, town appointments.
All right,
Got a few more.
I only have a couple. So, I'll make a motion to make the following appointments. Ron Speck as pound keeper and Matthew Hoffman as Wyndham Regional Commission.
I will second both Ron Sveck as pound keeper and Matthew Hoffman for the regional commission. Any discussion on those? Ron did send me a very funny email when I asked if he wanted to do it. He said, well, it takes a lot of my time. I'm very dedicated to it. So he agreed to do that. All right, any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor of appointing Ron Speck as pound keeper and Matthew Hoffman as Wyndham Regional Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those against. Town investment policy. Oh my God. All right. I'm going to summarize. And you all skip, I don't think you were here. So there's been, we'll call it a murmur from a number of people about, and town meeting, why don't you guys invest your money where you make more than, what you're getting in a money market account?
That's what Joe Cook was here about.
Yes.
All right, and I was here for the, I wasn't here.
Oh, you were
I was
here,
over there,
yes,
so,
but it sounds different from this side of the table.
Okay.
Believe me, the voices are in your head. So, the existing policy that the town signed, and we can re-sign it, back in, there's no date on it because it dates something, but back in when Joe was on board, basically said that we're authorized to invest town funds in checking accounts, money market accounts, obligations of the U.S. government, T-bills, T-notes, CDs, savings accounts, and NOW accounts. I don't think NOW accounts exist anymore.
I don't think so either.
I think my mom might have had one of those. The gist of it is VLCT's guidance and state policy directs. Here's my notebook. To ensure that you have safety, liquidity, and yield, and in that order, as far as priorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the policy as it is, I think, is fine. And Chris, the treasurer, agrees with that. And ultimately, it's his responsibility. We coordinate with him, right? But the money is his, that's his baby, that's his responsibility. He's voted to do that. I think if we go look at CDs, short-term CDs for 6 months, or 5 months, or 7 months, we could earn more money. The thing is you're not supposed to invest in things that are insured. And so things like T-bills. So basically, you're allowed to invest in things that are backed by the U.S. government. CDs, as I said, money market accounts. Nothing that's really susceptible to market
Nothing
swings.
risky.
Nothing risky. No. And we've had this, I had discussions with people, it's like, well, risky has a scale, right? You're either in risk or you're not in risk. And it could be 1 point of risk, or it could be 100 points of risk. But once you do cross the line, you're in the risk area. Now we're just debating how risky you want to be. We do have money, the cemetery fund has money in a fund that's done well. And the Miller Fund is in a fund that's done well. The difference between those is the Miller Fund is not town money. That was started by somebody who donated money. So even though Chris oversees that account, it doesn't really apply to the policy of uninsured or secure.
What is that money used for, the Miller Fund?
The Miller Fund was set up 80 years ago, 70 years ago, by a guy, Miller, who wanted it to be used for needy kids of Dummerston.
Oh, okay.
And so it's been allowed to grow, and it's been invested, a lot of it's been invested in, I don't know if it's Putnam or whatever.
No, I think that's the
Vanguard?
Vanguard.
Vanguard. I think so. Putnam, I think, is the cemetery fund.
Right.
That's a different question when we get to this, but and the Prospect Hill Board of Trustees, they oversee that money too, which was also donated to the town. So we don't, even though Chris sends the money when asked to, you in theory could do much more with those funds because those aren't taxpayer dollars.
Right, but isn't the money that is invested with the cemetery fund, isn't that town dollars also?
Yes, so that's there's a little question there and why.
Yeah.
Why that was done with the policy already in place that said you don't do that, but we'll get to that in a second. So I think for investing town money somewhere other than sitting in a bank at 1% or whatever it might be, I think you're talking about the restricted funds that aren't those two. The Farmland Protection Fund, anything that's got $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 sitting in it. do we want to go invest half of that money in a 6-month CD? I mean, talk to those organizations. I know they're going to be a little scared, or not, because the idea is if we can offset a 7,000 donation.
I think as long as it's federally secured,
Mhm.
We should go for it.
Yeah, and that's what the policy currently says.
But it's once you step out of that federally secured, where you're gambling with the money. Well, why don't we just go to Vegas? And,
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. So I mean, I looked up. So Joe had written I don't want to think I didn't do research. He'd written this thing that talked about commercial paper. Well, I'm not doing commercial paper. It's not insured. Bank acceptances, which are bank versions of commercial paper, which are short-term investments. Money market mutual funds. There's a little verbiage issue there. There's a money market account, and there are money market funds. They're two different things. Money market account is an account.
Right.
A fund is a fund that buys money market futures or whatever. So, that's not really applicable, at least for what I want to do. Local government investment pools. Some of these things would require somebody to be like tracking this stuff. Short-term investments, daily or weekly, which Chris doesn't have time to do. And it's not something I'm interested in doing. So, and just as pointed out, the Putnam, speaking of risk, I was curious, who gave me hang on. So the Putnam Fund, everybody talks about the low risk. And I'm not planning on doing anything with general fund, highway fund, or capital fund. Come on, some good facts. Where are my good facts? That's not my good fact. Oh, here we go. So the Vanguard Fund, everything was all great and nice. The first quarter of this year is only up 1%. So it's struggling. The Putnam Fund is down 2.7% in the first quarter of this year, right? So the idea that you have control, it's like, oh, don't worry, it's low risk, what bad could happen? Like, well, you can't tell me when something bad's going to happen, right? And all of a sudden, the Putnam Fund's down. So in theory, 2.7% of somebody's money has disappeared. I know what we would say is that whatever's in the Putnam Fund, which is cemetery, you think? We already made money on it. But again, the timing of putting it in and taking it out is a little bit arbitrary. So anyway, so what I want to do is just reissue, when we do it next meeting, the current town investment policy, the one that you have there, with new dates and new signatures. And then we'll coordinate with Chris and the various funds that have a lot of money sitting in them and see if we can, and he'll work with who our financial institution is and see what kind of CDs they can get for 6 months. And then when the 6-month point comes, you go to the Farmland Protection Fund. Do you know the Farmland Protection Fund? No. Well, I'm going to tell you. So there was a fund, this is all training. I had to learn about it. So the Farmland Protection Fund was started at some point to help preserve farmland in Dummerston. So there's, I think, $90,000 in there. And they come in every year and ask for $5,000, $7,000 to put money. The fund is not set up to actually buy the property. It's set up to show Vermont Land Trust, Green Mountain Conservancy, and all these big companies that we're interested in having a farm that's going up for sale maintained as farmland. And so what we do is we pay fees, we do surveys. So we put $15,000 in, and then we go to Vermont Land Trust and go, we've got money in the game, we'd really like to preserve this farm at a reasonable price for people to continue farming it. They come in and they come up with $500,000 to buy the farm and then sell it to whoever, Bunker Farm or the other one, so they can continue farming it. So I think a little confusion is some town residents, I think that fund is to buy the land, and it's not.
No.
It's not enough money to do anything. So over the 25 years that the fund's been in existence, they've spent a total of $34,000. And they've got 90 in there. And so I'm like, why am I giving you more money? I think you're fine. How about we cut a deal that if it drops below 60 or below 50, then we'll start funding
Then
it.
come to town,
Or how about we take half of your money, leave you 45, and put it in a CD, which might earn money that offsets the 5,000 or 7. So they've only had 3 events in 25 years. Bunker Farm, Moore Farm, and they did a survey somewhere else for
Down on Old Ferry Road,
Old Ferry Road.
the Howe property.
So I don't want to get rid of the fund. I just don't think we need to keep putting money into it. And I would sit down with them and go, what do you envision on the future what properties in Dummerston are on your radar? There are farms that we want to preserve, and if there aren't any in the next year, well, let's put half the money somewhere else. And so I think they're a good candidate for this. And if we can make $2 or $3 grand, then that's $2 or $3 grand less on taxes.
Right.
So that's that. So let's put on the agenda to vote on and sign or reestablish, what I want to say, the existing town policy.
Yeah.
And put it in place. Obviously, the other money, the general fund and the highway fund, that's money we need access to immediately. We
Right.
obviously can't afford to lose any of it. Same thing with the cap. We don't, because we don't have $500,000 sitting in the capital fund.
Right.
As a
But
slush fund.
we can look at, you know, what the banks would give us.
Yeah. Yep. But again, the capital fund over the course of a year, that money just comes out whenever Lee orders the truck
Right.
or whenever a piece of road work has to be done. In theory, we sort of know when we need the money, but we're not sure. And we may say if we wait till next year on the truck, that 100,000 sitting there for the truck, because we know we're not going to use it for a year, maybe we put that in a CD for 5% and see if we can make money on it.
Mhm.
But that's a very specific case. All right, I've lost my agenda. So my paper's all in stats, and usually I'm more organized, but every time I come here I get lost.
So do you want me to check with Lori to see if she has this on the computer to change the date
Yeah, I'll put a date on it.
and a blank one?
Yeah, I'll have
Do you
her.
want to get rid of now accounts?
Yeah, I'll take the accounts out.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Do you want to get with her or do you want me to?
You can do it.
Okay.
Money market. I gotta get home for Survivor at 8 o'clock. No pressure.
Got 45 minutes.
Yeah, but I live in Brattleboro. Oh, no, sorry. I'm lying. I'm kidding, it's a joke. I don't live in Brattleboro. Where's my agenda gone? It's got a bunch of people writing in it. No, here it is. Okay, sorry. All right, town performance investment policy. All right, so we don't need to do the liquor control board for the rest of the stuff, do we?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so all of it falls under liquor control board?
Yes, it
All right,
does.
let's do it.
So I'll make a motion that we recess the meeting and convene as the liquor control board.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? All right, so we've got application for Sandries at the gas station
Mm-hmm.
for a tobacco license, a second class license, another tobacco substitute license, campgrounds, a second class license for alcohol, Scott Farm, a first, second, and third class for license in commercial caterer, commercial kitchen, and Scott Farm for outside consumption. Want to do those first?
And then we also have the one to add for Scott Farm.
Do you want to add the event and just do it all
Sure.
at once? Okay,
Yeah.
and then Scott Farm has requested an event, in case you're interested, Blonde and Boozy, you're in, to be on March 10th from 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. at Scott Farm.
May 10th.
May 10th, yeah, sorry, May 10th.
I was gonna say, that's a ways away.
Yeah, sorry. So from 3 to 10:30.
So
go on.
I'll make a motion that we approve the following renewals. For Sandry, the tobacco license, second class liquor license, tobacco substitute endorsement. For Campfires Campground, the second class liquor license. Scott Farm, second class liquor license outside consumption permit. Third class commercial kitchen, first class commercial caterer, and then the request to cater an event on May 10th from 3 to 10:30 p.m.
I'll second that. I'm not going to repeat them all. Any discussion on those?
Just a quick point. How come we don't charge for liquor approval for permits?
Also always looking to make money. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, obviously we charge for somebody who wants to put a
Because
cookie stand
I
in the
know
fridge.
we did in Connecticut.
That,
You know,
I mean, that'd be a
if for
question
events
probably
like
for
that.
Lori.
Yeah.
Because she usually just, we approve them and then they pass them on, she passes them on to the state.
I know who's got an assignment. Paul Adler will look into the possibility of a fee for licenses. Well, yeah, there's probably some kind of state stuff with liquor tobacco you'd have to look into, but I'm not sure what it is. But for the Scott Farm permit, maybe there's something that can be done there. Any further discussion?
Well, my question on that is, if we would charge a fee, what would we be providing in return?
Well, that's a good
I know
question.
it would raise money, but what would we be giving
Right.
to justify the fee?
Yep.
When the research comes back from Paul Adler,
Okay.
board member Paul Adler.
Yeah, I will check and see what, other areas are doing and what the fee is for.
Yeah, Lori could probably answer most of those.
Yeah.
All right, so all those in favor of approving the myriad new licenses and outdoor events, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all those against?
So I'll make a motion that we adjourn as the Liquor Control Board and reconvene the meeting.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? That is the end of the working agenda. Paul, did you get my email on?
Yes.
Okay, whatever you did, that's fine.
I think it was fine. The only thing I would like to add to it is cell tower. I'm gonna not give up on that.
Wait, so hold on. So you want a cell tower?
We have a problem in this town where if the power goes out,
Yeah.
we have no way of contacting EMS or fire department or anyone
Right. So
because we have no cell service.
I don't think, this is just anecdotal,
Okay.
I don't think we as a town are going to go to the cell phone providers and say we want a cell tower. I don't know if we can or not. Second project for Paul Adler.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, go to the Wyndham Regional Commission because they do the approvals, the support. They have a lot of background on cell towers, and they may be able to say if you want a cell tower somewhere, this is the process you go through. And so the town may have to do some type of document, announcement, publication saying the town of Dummerston would like a cell. I mean, I don't think it costs us anything. I think you're going to find whether a phone company wants to put it in or not is whether they can make money on it.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that it would have to go on private property. So if you decide to put one on your property, you'd have to come to the town and get a permit.
Yeah. Well, the church has already said, gee, put it up in the tower.
Yeah.
They would love it.
Right.
What area are you talking about, Paul? It
In
doesn't have service. in
Paul's
the town.
house.
I figured that.
East West Road at Green Mountain Camp intersection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
that whole area of town, we've got some elderly people in there, and they have no way,
Yeah.
I mean, we had one neighbor come to my house, knock on the door and say, look, can you help me with my husband? He's fallen over and can't get up. He's out in the snow.
Right. Yeah, I think Wyndham Regional might have insight. If the
It'd be
church
nice
is willing
if it was
to,
call.
if the church is willing to be the site for it, the companies are just going to look at it and go, I'm going to put tower up, but what I want to be able to do is lease to other. So if AT&T builds it, they'll put extra.
Sure, and then they lease it.
So they're going to look at it and do cost analysis or whatever they do.
Right.
And you might want to
It
check.
may not be, cost effective for them. But,
You may want to check with Lori because I almost think the town has a telecommunications policy.
Right. But yeah, right. The idea that there's going to be a cell phone tower on the town church and the town center may not go. So,
I don't care if they put it on my property.
All right.
My fields.
so there you go. That's the only I think so.
Okay.
If you want to write a little paragraph about that,
Okay.
just add it to that article and send it back to me. And as long as your policing stuff's fine, we're groovy and I'll send it to him. That's all. So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is April 16th, 6 o'clock, town office.
I'll second it.
And we are adjourned.